Without self-discovery, reparenting yourself and doing the inner work, having a business, having a sustainable business, showing up in a way that feels good to you and is sustainable is going to be one of the hardest things you can do. When you start a business or when you have a business, it sincerely highlights all the parts of you that need healing. And when I speak to healing, I'm speaking to feeling triggered, dealing with imposter syndrome, comparisons, indecision, over planning paralysis, decision paralysis, all the paralysis that comes with being a business owner and having to make decisions, having to do things outside of your comfort zone, having to show up when you're scared. Self-discovery, reparenting, and inner work are fundamental in this process of being a business owner. And one of the things that I believe is so integral for the sustainability and for the scalability is for you to do the work first on yourself. When it comes to the self-discovery aspect of things, and you being a business owner, what matters to you? What do you value? Your value system is core in this process. Do you know the 5 top things that motivate you? Do you know what is your value system? Is it freedom? Is it love? Is it consistency? Is it quality time? Is it family? Is it relationships? Is it joy? Is it happiness? Whatever it is, because there are hundreds of values. Whatever your top 4 to 5 value system values are that are part of your value system, do the things that you engage in, does the business that you have, do the things that take up majority of your time align with those things? If they do not, I could bet 100% that there's a big part of you that does not feel fulfilled, that does not feel happy, that does not feel as satisfied as you would like to. And that is only as a result because of what you're saying, what you're doing, and what you're feeling are not lining up. And that is as a result of you not honoring your value system. The self-discovery part is absolutely necessary because without it, you could get lost. We could get lost. You would find yourself saying yes to things that you don't want to say yes to, going with the flow with things just because it was asked of you. You'd find yourself engaging in things and doing things with people and having partnerships and collaborations that just aren't good for you, but you're doing it simply because you are not fully aware of who you are, what do you want, what is your purpose, emotions, and what actually matters to you. Self before business is something that is an ongoing process. If there's anything that you could do right now, the first thing I'd like for you to do is take a moment and check in with what actually matters to you. And the 5 top things that matter to you, I then want you to do an audit on your life. I want you to do an audit on the things that you're engaging in. Does it bring you joy? Does it bring you happiness? Does it bring you fulfillment? Does it make you feel alive and expansive and abundant? And truthfully, if the answer is no, then you have co-creative power to change that. You get to wake up today, you get to listen to this episode, this podcast, you get to do something differently so that you could change the outcome. Nobody said that there is a one-size-fits-all type of way to do things. Nobody said that that is the only way that something could be done. If it's not working for you because it does not feel expansive, it does not feel liberating, it does not feel purpose-driven, it does not feel good at a soul level, you do not, and you are not doomed to continue doing things that way. That will bring me into the reparenting part of things when it comes to self before business. What exactly is reparenting? Reparenting is giving yourself what you need, giving yourself what you did not have growing up. Structure. Business owners, so the conditioning, what we've learned is that we need to be very structured, we need to be very rigid, things must be done in this type of way, you need to make sure everything is, like almost to perfection, I want to say. But you know what? That works for some people. Some people are very, very rigid and things must be done at a particular day, particular time. And that is great. And then there are other people like myself who need that flexibility, I do not thrive in a space where you're asking me to do something in a very rigid, boxed in type of way. That doesn't make your way of doing something different from my way. It just means that at a conscious level, I am aware of what works and what does not work for me. So I'm saying all that to say that when it comes to how you show up in your business, how you do things in your business, you get to find a system that works for you. If you are more of a flexible, creative, need some room for flow, have more feminine energy, if you're in a space where rigidity gives you anxiety and makes you frustrated, then why are you trying to fit yourself in a box to be rigid, extremely rigid and structured when it does not work for you? Structured, rigidity, to the time, to the T, everything must be planned out in a particular way. It works for some people. And if you are one of those people, great, continue doing that. Because when you do that, I'm pretty sure you feel super expansive, you feel very organized, you feel very prepared, etc. And then there are those when doing things like that just feels so contracting, feels so restricting, feels so painful that it causes so much anxiety. So I'm saying all that to say that you are to figure out, do an audit, explore self-discovery of what works for you and honor that. There are systems that you could put in place so that you could put structure to your flexibility. And one of those things is something called block scheduling. So for those of you who are not very rigid and you need things down to the planner, minute by minute, hour on hour, but you know that you require structure in your flexibility, there's something called block scheduling. And this is something that I use very often and it supports me in a great deal. So block scheduling means that you create your day or you set up your day in a way where you have blocks of time allocated to certain types of activities. What that is going to look like is, so let's say your morning routine, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And within that block, you have multiple things that you could do. So it could be a speed clean for my mommies. It could be, of course, prayer, meditation. It could be planning for your day. It could be, that's the time that you would send out an email, whatever it is, prepare lunch. You have certain things within that time frame. Now, the trick is when that 9 a.m. alarm goes off to mean that the block is complete, this is where you are required to honor the boundary. This is where you're like, okay, so that block is done, time to move on to the next block, which I'll be doing these other type of activities. So within that time, there is structure in your there is structure to your flexibility. So nobody's boxing you in, you're not being boxed in, but there's structure and you're still able to get the things that you have to get done. Reparenting is to give yourself what it is you need, give yourself what it is you did not get. So that would also look like, boundaries. So many people in childhood didn't learn boundaries because you would have had a parent who would have invalidated or disregarded your boundaries, or they themselves did not have boundaries. So you grew up finding it difficult in terms of how to say no, how to say that now is not the right time. And out of that would have created so much codependency where you're just like yes to everybody, yes and yes and yes, when a huge part of you really wants to say no because you've said yes so many times that it basically sucked the life out of you. When it comes to, and of course that would show up in your business too, right? Because if you are saying yes to things that you really want to say no to, what you do, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so if you do that in your personal life, if you do that with yourself, if you do that in your family, then it's going to manifest in your business as well. You would find yourself saying yes to collaborations that you really want to say no to. You would find yourself overworking and going the extra mile when all you really want to do is take a rest because you are tired. Then there'd be things like, of course, you are more of a structured person, or you're more of a flexible person, I should say, and you're trying to box yourself into this very rigid type of being, and it just does not make you feel good. All of this ties into self-discovery, of course, but the point of where it is we're trying to go and what it is you're trying to do is to make work not feel like work. And even for myself, I have so much deconditioning to do around that, because I notice that when work feels easy, when work feels like I'm in flow, when work feels very aligned and expansive, and I feel as though, wow, I can't believe that I get to play and I get to have fun doing what I'm doing, there's a voice in my head that says, wow, you did nothing today. Wow, you have way more work to do. Wow, Latina, there's like, what's going on with you? And the truth of the matter is, you get to create something that feels good. I'm not saying that there are not going to be hard parts in this process. I'm not saying that everything is roses and butterflies and peaches. But I'm saying that for the most part, when we start to do the inner work, when you start to do the self-discovery and the reparenting and giving yourself what you need and working on your boundaries and releasing the codependency of saying yes all the time, or always trying to fix somebody, or always trying to save somebody, it makes life so much easier. It allows you to fill yourself up so that you could give to your business with more energy, give to your business in a way that feels better. And of course, the ripple effect is tenfold, and it properly manifests and shows up in the collective, because you are doing what you're doing from a place that is aligned for who you are. And as I spoke about the codependency and giving and doing more and, telling myself, wow, well, Latina, you didn't do enough today, that speaks to the inner work, right? When you have a business, it more or less, and this has been my experience and many other experiences of clients that I've had, where they express that starting a business or having a business highlighted all the parts of them that needed healing. The fears, the insecurities, the comparison, the inadequacies, feelings like they don't know how, they're not ready, they're not an expert, all the imposter syndrome. And when you are doing this type of work, so people say, just change your mindset, just change your mindset. It doesn't work like that. There is no button. And if there is a button, somebody please tell me. But there is no button for you to just press to say, okay, just change your mindset. So if you're a business owner and you're dealing with imposter syndrome, you're having a hard time, there's the fear of not being ready, the fear of not being adequate, the fear of failure, the fear of not knowing enough and you need to know more. Like all those fears that are consistently showing up for you. It's mindset related, but it is also at a deeper level trauma related. Because so many things in your childhood, so many things in your past experiences would have made you felt as though you're not adequate. That would have made you feel like you're not enough. That would have made you feel like you needed to do more. That would have made you felt as though, somebody else is better than you. And it requires you to take the time to sit down and be honest about where you are, what you're feeling, what your thoughts are, where these things came from, and then make a decision to commit to unlearn all of these things, to make a decision to change the situation that you're currently in by responding differently. And it requires support. It requires safety. One of the things that I learned from a mentor is safety is the treatment. When you are starting a business or when you have a business, it is requiring more of you. It is requiring you to step out of your comfort zone. And anything that is asking you to come out of your comfort zone would, for the most part, cause a lot of fear. Because our ego is trying to keep us safe. It is trying to make sure that, you don't go outside of what is safe, what is good for you. But when you are called for more, it is going to ask for you to do more. It is going to ask for you to deal with those fears, to deal with those insecurities, to deal with those limiting beliefs, to deal with those trauma responses, to deal with the things that make you feel as though anything outside of this is going to be too hard, is going to be too much. Self-discovery work, reparenting yourself, and doing the inner work are the fundamental things as it pertains to how you show up in your business. Is the only way, in my belief, of course, paired with understanding the business part of things, the strategies, the marketing, and making sure that you understand the business part of it. If you do not work on yourself as a business owner, it is going to show. Sustainability and scalability is going to be so difficult to do and so painful, because who you are will transcend in your business. How you show up on social media will transcend. energetically it is going to be received that, hey, some inner work needs to be done here. There are going to be obvious gaps. There are going to be obvious loopholes. There are going to be obvious things that you're trying to fix through business related things or business related ways, as in, okay, I need to get more ads done and I need to do more of this and I need to do more of that in terms of business, when oftentimes it's actually a lot of energetic work and a lot of inner work that needs to be done, and you being honest with yourself about who you are, what actually matters to you, and where it is you're trying to go. None of them works independent of each other. They're both very much interconnected. The more you learn about who you are, what matters to you, the more you start to give yourself what you need, the more you start to take a look back at your conditioning and your traumas and the things that hurt and the experiences that you've had that have created certain limiting beliefs for you, or protective beliefs, I should say, the more you sit with that, the clearer things become for you. The easier it is for you to do things in a way that feels good, that feels playful. And of course, when things feel good like that, people receive that. And when people receive that, support comes tenfold. When people receive that from you, you are able to show up with more vigor and more power and more alignment, because you feel purpose-driven. You feel very connected to what it is you're doing. So if you feel disconnected from what you're doing, if you are struggling with imposter syndrome, if the fears are so consistent that it's paralyzing, if you are saying yes to things that you really want to say no to, if you sit down and you question, why am I really doing this? It is an indication that you need to spend some time doing the inner work. You need to spend some time with yourself and being honest about your situation and about what lights you up and what does not. And then be brave to make a decision to change. Be brave to make a decision to let go from the things that are no longer serving you. To be brave to try something differently.